All right, let's talk about something that most of us stare at every single day, the spreadsheet. But we're not just going to talk about rows and columns. Nope. We're going to explore how you can transform them from a source of endless manual work into a powerful engine for real intelligence.
So I've got a question for you, and I want you to be honest. When you think about your spreadsheets, do you see a reliable tool that helps you get your job done? Or does it feel more like a ticking time bomb, just filled with hidden errors waiting for the right moment to go off?
And I'm not being dramatic here, because the stakes, they are unbelievably high. Just look at this number, $10.47 million. Now that's not a company's revenue. That's not a marketing budget. That is the cost of one single mistake in one single spreadsheet.
So yeah, that number, it brings us right into our first big topic, the hidden cost of errors. Let's unpack exactly where that insane figure came from and take a look at how even those small, everyday frustrations are connected to this massive, massive risk. Okay, so here's the wild story behind that $10 million figure. An employee at Crypto.com needed to process a simple $100 refund. But a tiny copy-paste error, something any one of us could do, sent over $10 million by mistake. It's a shocking, real-world example of how a tiny manual error can have absolutely catastrophic consequences. Now, thankfully, most of us are not making $10 million mistakes. But this quote, I think this is something almost everyone can relate to. It's not about the one big disaster. It's about the slow, soul-crushing drain of cleaning up messy data day in and day out. It's that mind-numbing repetitive work that just eats away at our time and our sanity. So, if that's the problem, the big question is, how do we escape this cycle? Well, that brings us to the good news and our next section, a path to mastery. Because this frustration isn't something you have to live with. There is a clear, structured way to take back control. And this is it! This is the roadmap. It's a 5-step journey that takes you from total data chaos to real data intelligence. First up, you protect. You basically stop bad data from ever getting in the front door. Then, you learn how to match and clean your data so you can make sense of the mess. From there, you can actually analyze it to find insights. And finally, the holy grail. You automate your most painful tasks so the work just does itself. Each step just builds on the one before it. Now, there's a really cool way to think about this journey. It's all about shifting your mindset from playing defense to playing offense. You stop just trying to prevent problems, and you start actively creating value. And this is what I mean. See, those first steps, protecting and cleaning, that's all defense. You're building a fortress around your data to stop those costly errors from happening. But then, once that fortress is built and your data is reliable, that's when you go on offense. That's when you use that clean data to find powerful insights and really drive decisions.
All right, let's make this real. What does this actually look like? Well, take bill reconciliation. The before picture is just painful. 16 hours a week spent just eyeballing lists, trying to match things up. But the after? Using automated formulas, that gets cut down to just an hour and a half. That's not a small improvement, that is a game changer.
Or how about that daily data cleaning we mentioned earlier, that mind-numbing task? The before is 30 minutes of manual correction every single day. The after is a one-time 5-minute setup. That's it. From that point on, new data comes in, you click refresh, and it's done, instantly. And look, the impact on something like monthly reporting? It's even more insane. Think about it. A full work week, 40 hours, spent manually building reports every single month. But with the right tools like pivot tables, you can crush that down to just 2 hours. And you go from a static, dead document to a live, interactive dashboard that updates on its own.
Okay, so those examples are pretty powerful on their own, right? But what happens when you add it all up? Well, that leads us right here, the transformation in numbers. Let's actually put some figures on this.
Let's start with your most valuable resource, your time. By using these methods, a single person can save over 456 hours every single year. Let that sink in for a second. That's more than 11 full work weeks of your life that you get back to focus on work that actually matters. And of course, that time has a very real dollar value. When you add up the value of those saved hours and you factor in the costly errors you're no longer making, like paying the same bill twice, you're looking at over $66,000 in savings annually for just a small organization. But honestly, this next number is the one that just blows my mind. The return on investment for learning these skills? a staggering 7,284% in the first year alone. That's not just a good investment, that is an absolute no-brainer.
And this chart really just drives the point home. Look at these numbers. We're not talking about shaving off 5 or 10% here and there. We're talking about a 95% time reduction for creating reports, almost 90% for critical tasks like reconciliation and payroll. This is a total overhaul of how work gets done.
So as we bring this all together, it really boils down to a simple but profound choice. Are you in the business of data entry, or are you in the business of data intelligence?
Because here's the thing. Mastering this stuff isn't just about being faster. It's about fundamentally changing your role. You stop being the person who just copies, pastes, and fixes typos, and you become the person who finds the answers, who provides the insights that actually move the business forward.
So I'm going to leave you with a challenge, a question to think about. As you go about your work this week, just notice, what is that one single mind-numbing task that you do over and over again? What's the one thing you could take the first step toward automating? Because the power to make this change, it's right there in your hands.